Phil Collins, the famous musician and former lead singer of Genesis, has wowed crowds all over the world with his amazing skills and unforgettable shows. Collins has made music that people have loved for a long time, from his early days as a drummer to his rise as a solo artist. Behind the scenes, though, he's been dealing with some serious health and emotional problems. The problems he's been having lately have become very sad, seriously affecting his ability to keep working. Phil Collins was born in London, England, on January 30, 1951. He is a well-known musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer. Collins grew up in a creative and lively home. He became interested in music early on, and got a toy drum kit when he was 5 years old. This first spark started a lasting love of music and drumming. Collins had been in several bands by the time he was a youngster, and was getting better at playing the drums and singing. Over the course of more than 50 years, he has worked in a wide range of styles, from rock and pop to jazz and film music. Collins is respected in the music business for being able to play a lot of different styles, and coming up with new ways to make music. In addition to his work with Genesis, his solo job made him even more famous. In the 1980s, Collins had great success as a solo singer that had never been seen before. People all over the world sang along to his hit songs like In the Air Tonight, Against All Odds, and Another Day in Paradise. These songs showed how well he could combine moving lyrics with strong melodies, which made them popular all over the world. His unique drumming style, which was marked by the gated reverb sound, became famous, and had a big impact on the way music is made. Collins had an impact on music that went beyond his personal work. His work with Genesis, especially after he became lead singer of the band in 1975, showed that they needed to change their sound from progressive rock to more popular pop rock. Genesis became one of the best bands of their time with albums like Invisible Touch and We Can't Dance. Collins made important contributions to rock and pop music, but his work in jazz with the Phil Collins Big Band and his well-known film tunes, like those for Disney's Tarzan, show how versatile he is as a musician. His song You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan got both an Academy Award and a Golden Globe, making him an even more versatile and skilled musician. Before the beginning of Genesis, there were big changes that set the stage for those changes. Gabriel Banks, Rutherford, Mike and Phillips all went to Charterhouse School together, and started Genesis in 1967. Folk and pop music were the band's first influences, and their early music had a unique progressive rock style. Phil Collins took over as drummer for John Mayhew when he joined Genesis in 1970. This was a big deal for the band, because Collins' lively drumming gave their sound a new dimension. Nursery Crime, his first record with Genesis, came out in 1971, and showed off his skills. It also set the tone for the band's future musical direction. Another big change was coming for the band as it continued to grow. Peter Gabriel, the lead singer of Genesis, quit the band in 1975 to start a solo career. For many bands, this break could have been the end, but for Genesis, it was the start of a new era. The band agreed that Collins, who had been singing backup vocals, should become the lead singer after trying out a number of other candidates. This choice marked a major turning point in Genesis. Genesis changed from a complex rock band to a more accessible pop rock sound while Collins was in charge. This helped them reach a wider audience. A Trick of the Tail. Their first record with Collins as lead singer came out in 1976 and went straight to number 3 on the UK Albums Chart. Some of the best songs on the record were Dance on a Volcano and Ripples, which showed how versatile Collins' voice is. Genesis kept making great music after this one hit with records like And Then There Were Three 1978 and Wind and Wuthering 1976. The hit song Follow You Follow Me was from the second album. It was their first single to make it to the UK Top 10 and the US Top 40. This shows that the band did well when they tried their hand at pop music. Genesis's transition to pop rock was confirmed by the release of Duke in 1980. Hits like Misunderstanding and Turn It On Again were on the record, and they both did well on the charts and at the radio. The Duke tour made it even more clear that they were a powerful live act. The band took another big step forward, with their 1981 album, Abacab, which had a more experimental sound and better recording. Hits like Alabac, the title track, and No Reply at All, and Man on the Corner, also did well, showing that the band could try new things while still appealing to their core fans. When Invisible Touch came out in 1986, it was one of the most famous moments in Genesis's history. 5 songs from this album made it to the top 5 in the US charts. The title track, Invisible Touch, Land of Confusion, and Throwing It All Away. Back in the 1980s, Genesis was one of the most famous bands in the world thanks to the hit song Invisible Touch. There were huge crowds and elaborate stage shows on the Invisible Touch tour, which was a huge hit. Many people still remember their 1987 show at Wembley Stadium as one of their most famous. It had amazing visuals and a strong set list. Genesis kept putting out popular records and going on tours that sold out all the way through the 1980s and early 1990s. Hits like No Son of Mine and I Can't Dance from albums like We Can't Dance 1991 show that the band is still popular and can make great music. Genesis has had a lot of famous shows over the course of their career. Each one was an important turning point for the band. One of Genesis's early acts that stands out was as the headliner at the Knebworth Festival in 1978. They played a set that solidified their reputation as a top progressive rock band. Genesis continued to amaze people with their amazing live shows, building on this success. During the Invisible Touch tour in 1987, there was another memorable show at Wembley Stadium. People bought tickets in advance to see Genesis, and this show is often mentioned as one of their best. The elaborate stage production and the band's energetic performance of hit songs made an unforgettable impression on the crowd and cemented their standing as rock icons around the world. Phil Collins has had a lot of success, but he has also had to go through some tough times. His health has gotten much worse over the past few years, bringing up sad problems. Collins has had a lot of health problems, like hearing loss, spinal problems, and neuropathy, that have made it very hard for him to work. Collins said in 2017 that he had been told he had type 2 diabetes, and got an untreated diabetic abscess on his foot that needed to be treated in a hyperbaric chamber. This condition, along with a number of other health issues, has made it very hard for him to move around. Collins now walks with a cane, and often sits during shows because of his health problems. The most terrible thing about his health problems is that he hurt his back and hurt nerves so badly that he can't play the drums or piano. This happened during a Genesis tour, and even though the surgery went well, his hands still don't work as well as they used to. This loss has been especially bad for a musician who used to be known for how well he played the drums. Collins may have played his last show with Genesis in March 2022. It was a sad event that marked the end of an era. Fans and fellow artists were touched by how weak he looked during the performance, which shows how bad his health problems are. From 2021 to 2022, Genesis went on their last Domino tour. It was especially important for the band and their fans to have their last show at the O2 Arena in London. Even though things were hard, Collins and Genesis put on memorable shows that honored their long history and deep bond with the audience. During Phil Collins' time with Genesis, the band's music changed and improved all the time, and Collins remained dedicated to it. Collins, who started out as a drummer and later became the charismatic lead singer, was a key part of making Genesis one of the most popular and important rock bands ever. As great as Phil Collins' career has been, his personal life has been just as rough. He's been married 3 times, and each one has been hard on him emotionally and in many ways. Collins married Andrea Bertorelli for the first time. He met her as a child in a drama class in London, and saw her again in 1974 when Genesis played in Vancouver. They got married in 1975, and had 2 kids. Collins adopted Jolie and Simon. Collins' growing music business and long tours, on the other hand, put a lot of stress on their relationship. Collins said the stress of his job was a big reason why they split up in 1980, which was the end of their marriage. Collins got married to Jill Tavelman in 1984. An actor named Lily Collins is their daughter, and has done very well for herself. Collins' long tours with Genesis and his solo work put a lot of stress on his marriage, even though they tried to keep it together. Their relationship ended badly because Collins cheated on her and they couldn't work out their differences. When they got split in 1996, Collins is said to have faxed Tavelman a long letter explaining how he felt, which caused a huge scandal and a lot of media attention. Collins married a Swiss woman named Oriane Sevi for the 3rd time. She worked as his translator on his 1994 tour. They got married in 1999, and have two sons named Nicholas and Matthew, but they had problems in their relationship too, especially after Sevy had postpartum depression after giving birth to their second child. Their divorce was in the news in 2006, and Collins paid one of the biggest settlements in the history of British celebrities at the time. The problems Collins was having in his personal life had a big effect on his music and business. His first marriage to Andrea Bertorelli was rocky because he had to tour with Genesis all the time. Collins left for a 2-year tour just a few days after the birth of their son Simon. Bertorelli felt like he was being left behind, and the stress of his absence was a big reason why they eventually split up. Collins' music was heavily affected by his grief over the end of his marriage. This is especially clear in the raw emotion of his solo album Face Value, which features the hit song In the Air Tonight. Collins' pain could be heard in the song, which was full of anger and sadness. It also helped him deal with his feelings in public. Even after his second marriage, his work was still affected by his personal problems. His business was also seriously hurt by his second marriage to Jill Tavelman. Collins' choice to send his feelings through a fax, which made the news as him divorcing by fax, showed how serious the problems were in their relationship. He wrote songs like I Don't Care Anymore from his second solo record, Hello, I Must Be Going, about his unstable emotions at the time. These songs were about his own problems and connected with people who were going through similar things. This added to his reputation for making honest, understandable music. Another big emotional blow was the end of his third marriage to Orianne Sevy. Collins became very depressed after his divorce and started drinking a lot, which caused serious health problems like acute pancreatitis. His battle with alcoholism and the mental pain of being away from his kids affected his later music and public appearances. Even with these problems, Collins was able to fix his relationship with Sevy. He moved to Miami to be closer to his kids and spent some time with her again. But things got worse in their relationship, and Collins served Sevy with an eviction notice in 2020 after she got married again and wouldn't leave his Miami home. Collins' commitment to his music never wavered, even when things were rough in his personal life. Some of his most powerful and enduring songs came from his ability to use his inner pain in his work. Even though Collins' personal problems had a big effect on his work, his strength and love of music helped him get through them and stay one of the most important musicians of his time. Through music, Phil Collins has had a great journey, but it has also been shaped by health problems that started to show up in the late 1990s. In 2000, he suddenly lost hearing in his left ear. This was one of the first big health problems he had. This illness, which is sometimes called an oral stroke, was terrible for a musician whose job depended on his hearing. The hearing loss was caused by a virus, and even though he saw several doctors, the outlook was not good at first. Collins eventually got most of his hearing back, but this event marked the start of a string of health problems. While on a Genesis reunion tour in 2007, Collins hurt his back very badly. The accident caused his neck vertebrae to slip out of place, which hurt the nerves that controlled his hands. Even though the surgery went well, the damage to his nerves meant he couldn't properly hold drumsticks or play the piano, which were two of his main instruments. This was a huge turning point in his career because it made it very hard for him to act live, which was something he loved doing. The health problems Collins was having made it very hard for him to perform. At first, the hearing loss in his left ear made it hard for him to keep his balance and understand where things were in the room, which are very important for a drummer. He had to get used to these changes while still making music and performing it. Collins was put to the test during this time, but he was eager to keep working. The spinal damage and vasculitis that followed made things even harder. It was almost impossible to play the drums and piano. Collins tried many ways to adapt, such as taping drumsticks to his hands, but these methods did not work for long shows. Collins refused to let his love of music fade, even though he had these health problems. He changed his attention to singing and producing, which kept him involved in music without the physical stress of drumming. Collins announced his retirement from singing in 2010, saying that his health problems were the main reason. But he loved music and playing so much that he couldn't stay away for long. He came out of retirement in 2015, even though he was still having health problems. Collins performed while sitting down and used a cane to help him move around as a way to get used to his new situation. Everything he did showed how determined and willing to work he was, even though his body was hurting him badly. Collins's journey through these health problems showed how strong and dedicated he is to his work. Even though his health was getting worse, he kept touring and performing. In 2017 he had a bad fall in his hotel room that left him with a cut near his eye that needed stitches. Because of what happened he had to cancel some shows, but he quickly got back on stage to show how much he cares about his fans and his songs. Collins played all of his shows while sitting down during his last tour with Genesis, the Last Domino Tour, which ran from 2021 to 2022. Nick Collins, his son, played the drums, so Collins could focus on singing and connecting with the crowd. Phil Collins' health problems have been a major turning point in his career, showing how strong and flexible he is. Collins' hearing loss and spinal injuries made it hard for him to do some things, but they didn't stop him from loving music and wanting to perform. The fact that he was able to keep going despite these problems and keep making and sharing songs shows how talented and determined he is. Genesis's last live shows were on the Domino Tour, which began in 2021 and ended that year. This tour was especially important for many reasons, one of which was that Phil Collins' son Nick Collins played drums on it. Phil Collins had serious health problems, including nerve damage that kept him from playing the drums. Nick's involvement was both necessary and symbolic of the passing of the torch. Nick Collins' appearance on stage was a sign. It showed how the band's legacy lives on through a younger generation and also made a touching family link. Nick brought youthful energy and technical skill to the shows because he had grown up watching his father's famous acts. His ability to perfectly copy his dad's playing style helped the band keep its signature sound, which let Genesis play powerful shows even though Phil was physically limited. At different times during the Last Domino Tour, Phil Collins had a range of emotions. On the one hand, he was thrilled to be playing again and seeing his fans, but his health problems were always reminding him of his limits by making him feel bad. During the tour, Collins played while sitting down, and he often used a cane to help him move around. His singing skills were strong, and full of the deep feelings that come from having lived a long time. Collins said in interviews that the tour made him feel both happy and sad. He was thankful for the chance to play one last show with Genesis, but he was also fully aware that this was probably going to be his last tour. People were touched when they saw Collins sitting on stage and singing with all his heart. It showed how dedicated he was to his craft, even though he was having trouble. At Genesis's last shows, both bandmates and fans showed their support and respect in huge numbers. According to the band's keyboardist, Tony Banks, the tour was very emotional. He said, "It's been a hard time for Phil, but his strength and determination to be on stage and share these moments with us and the fans is truly inspiring." Mike Rutherford, the bassist and guitarist for the band, also talked about how strong Collins was. This tour, even though Phil has been through a lot, shows how much he loves playing and how much he cares about Genesis's legacy. Hearing Nick play the drums has been great, and it shows how strong the band is. It was clear that the performances touched the fans deeply. A lot of people used social media to show their support and appreciation. One fan wrote that it was emotional to see Phil Collins perform with Genesis for the last time. Even though he is sick, his passion and commitment are clear. Nick was great on the drums, which made his dad happy. Another fan said that hearing Phil Collins sing those famous songs on stage made them think of his amazing work and how much he has changed music. It was beautiful to see but also very sad. The very last show at the O2 Arena in London on March 26, 2022, was very important. As Collins spoke to the crowd, there was a strong sense of ending things and thinking about them. He said with tears in his eyes, "This is the end of the period." The crowd gave the band a standing ovation, honoring their history and Collins' amazing path. It was a sad and emotional goodbye for Phil Collins and Genesis at their last shows. The tour showed how determined he was, and how close he was to his songs and fans. Nick Collins took over playing the drums at the shows, which also marked the passing on of Genesis's legacy to the next generation. The messages he got from fans and other musicians showed how much Collins has changed the music business and how much love and respect he still has for fellow musicians and fans. Thanks for listening to our show. Don't forget to click like, leave comments and click subscribe to see more fun movies about the lives of your favorite stars. Do not forget that the next video will be on your screen soon.